Washington before the field trip.
I know.
We're talking about it right now, Gordon.
So,
Okay.
whatever.
I know.
Thank you. Ellen. Welcome to the East Bridgewater School Committee meeting of, I don't even know the date. October 25th, 2022. You think I know the date? I know. Welcome, everyone. And at this time, I'll take a motion to open this meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda.
Second.
Second by Scott, and I know there's feedback. We have to do a roll call vote, so Gordon, would you like to begin the roll call vote? Because he's remote.
Is he frozen?
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye. It's unanimous. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Just watching them manage the Zoom.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Someone's knocking on the door. One moment, please, while we pause for this brief moment. Superintendent, would you like to say, would you like to say a few words now, or would you like me to go on to Lilia, the student?
If you would like me to.
Sure.
So last weekend, the East Bridgewater Public Schools and the community had a tragic passing of a 2020 graduate, Jeremiah Capian, whose sister Liliana is currently a senior at East Bridgewater High School, a brother, Malaki, at 4th grade, and Jacob in 2nd grade. We send our deepest condolences to Jeremiah Capian's family during this time of his loss, or their loss and grief. I hope they remain in our thoughts throughout this time. We had counselors go to the house. I want to thank Christy Anderson for meeting with meeting with his mom, and his students have met with his sister, and we have met with the children at the elementary school and the Mitchell School, and we have guidance and grief counselors available to work with the family and the children at this time and their friends. It is always tragic to lose a child at any age. But our thoughts go out to the family, and I thought that it is a loss that certainly the cross-country team felt, as his friends, and who ran with him on a daily basis. And my understanding that he was fun to be around, and the kids had a good time with him. And so we will continue to support the family with their healing, and it takes some time.
Thank you. Hi, Lilia.
Hi.
Would you like to give us an update?
Sure. I have a lot of information tonight, it's been a busy 2 weeks, but 2 weekends ago I had the opportunity to go to a delegates assembly for the student reps of Massachusetts, and it was a very fun experience, and it was a great opportunity to just work on some workshops and get some different information about how to better my position and role. It was very interesting to listen to how other schools are being run, the similarities between our school, and kind of giving ideas that we use here at East Bridgewater to give to other student reps and take information from them as well. I had the opportunity to go to the Mitchell School and sit in on a few classes. Last Thursday, they had Rachel's Challenge, so that's always a big day for them. They had presentations in the morning, and then throughout the day, they had just different lessons and things in the classroom to kind of figure out ideas and come up with ways to make the school a better environment. In one of the 6th grade classes, they were looking at visual representations of Rachel's Challenge. So they said practicing positive gossip, being the answer, be kind, dream big, believe in yourself. One student shared that this could be an example of like a chain reaction, such as in like a drive-through line. And just some of the things that I noticed throughout all like the grades and classrooms, which was the variety of learning. So in the willingness of each child to help out one another. You know, if a teacher says, oh, would you mind explaining to this child that might not be as engaged, like they were very willing to help out each other. And it was very interesting to see the variety of work choice, like online versus paper, just to see the different variety in that. So overall, it was a really cool experience just to see what's going on at the Mitchell School and to see some old teachers, so it was good. And then at the high school, tonight they're doing a parent information night for the Washington, D.C. trip. And there's also the Tri-M induction night. So those are being held here tonight at the high school. And the last thing I have is that the high school is wrapping up the term on November 4th. And Mr. Clentz would like everyone to know that any questions on grades should go to the teacher directly. That's all I have tonight.
That's it? I heard that Mr. Paquette had reached out to you and asked you to come
Yes.
down and walk around and see what's going on in the Mitchell School. I think that's terrific.
Yeah, it was.
And hopefully you get down to Central School and be
Yeah.
able to walk around.
Right.
I think that's wonderful. That's great. And I'm glad that Mr. Clements is willing to give you some time to do that.
Right, yeah.
That's great. And even reaching out to the other student reps
Yeah.
and being part of the state culture of student reps on the school committee. Excellent job. Excellent.
If there are any recommendations, too, that you hear, please bring them to us.
Yes.
Let us know. We'd love to hear.
All right.
Thank you.
In regards to the Rachel's Challenge, that was happening when you were in the middle school as well, yes?
Yeah, I do that every year at the middle school, so
Yeah.
it's still going on.
Do you think that that was a like memorable experience
Oh,
from the
for sure,
student
yeah.
standpoint in
It was definitely
terms of
an
staying
emotional
with
day,
you?
I think, for everyone at the school, but definitely I remember that as one of like the key days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's such a great investment that the school system continues to have Rachel's Challenge come back, and speaking about kindness, but also at the older grades, that 5 and 6, really starting to understand the story more and understand the bullying component more.
Exactly.
I think it's just an awesome thing that the district
Right.
continues to do at such a critical age.
I did speak to Mrs. Kallenberg about Rachel's Challenge and what they did afterwards, and one of the things that both she and Mr. Paquette had said is that in years prior, that after the presentation, they would go back out and go back to the classroom and start their day again. This year, they spent more time on unpacking what was said, what kids felt like after hearing the presentation, and had more conversation, and it was sort of a more thoughtful day, if you will, by teachers, presenters, administrators, staffing, everybody. And Mrs. Kallenberg said it was just really something to see and to hear as she walked around and did a lot of group work and things like that. She said it was just terrific.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's hard to pause a day of learning to be able to focus on that, but I think that with the district goals of social and emotional learning, and then investing one day out of so many into making sure we're helping humans be good humans, like that's worth it.
I think, I think if the kids feel good and they feel safe and they feel confident and they can sort of rid themselves of anxiety, a little bit less anxiety, they're able to focus more. And we as adults, even though we have a lot of compliance and things that we need to do, if we focus on that a little bit more, and I think we are with the professional development and the way we are in our strategic plan, that listening to kids, listening to our adults as well, opens us up to be better learners, better listeners, more confident, and better people.
Yeah, and the
Or better humans.
debrief part of not just attending an assembly and spending time on it after.
And they
is
did, and
how
that-
things are lasting.
And I think that's what Mrs. Kallenberg was so excited about when I went and saw her, about this was the debrief, and she was very pleased. And I think that between her and Mr. Dickey and John Fass and the teachers and the other staffing that we have there, it's a big part of it. So.
And one thing we would like the kids to know, or their parents, is that if they have a problem with another child in school, that they should seek out a trusted adult, talk to their teacher, go to the principal, something to that effect. And always be kind, of course. Okay, so next up we have the subcommittee, standing committee updates. And so we'll start with the school committee goals. So that we met, and we did not complete those. We will hopefully complete those on November 8th and be able to bring them to the November 8th school committee meeting. And then the policy subcommittee, we updated more policies, and we'll bring those for the first reading to the November 8th school committee meeting. And then the superintendent evaluation subcommittee met, and we have that, we'll be talking about that later on in this meeting with the superintendent's goals and the evaluation. Do you have anything else? No? Anything? Oh, and then there's, Gordon, do you have anything from the educational philosophy of the district standing committee? Oh, 1 minute. Hold on, we just have to turn. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Discussion, and I just sent out a note to maybe target another date to get together, or maybe even amend what we have so far on Google Docs. So I'll wait to hear back from everybody. But Becky was there, as was Scott, and I think Becky did the minutes, so maybe she might add something to what I just had. And I know Mrs. Williams was there as well too, so I think it all went well. But I'll turn it over to Becky. Maybe she has some more input.
I think Gordon covered it. I mean, I think we started really tackling the origin of what was written already and wanting it to match the, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but like the pillars, the vision of the graduate, and really trying to bring together the things that have already been established in the district with the vision of the graduate, and having the educational philosophy reflect that and have the same language in that philosophy that we see in the vision of the graduate.
Thank you.
Minutes TBD.
Thank you. And next up, we have Superintendent's Corner.
So we have heard, and I will share with John the mic on the communication of the busing. We certainly understand the frustrations that our families are going through. We are as frustrated as you all are. We are trying, and John and Joanne Benner have been in constant communication with Lucini Bus Lines from morning throughout the day and into the early evening or early afternoon or late afternoon, trying to figure out where buses are, why we're behind, why parents are looking for their kids, why we're, not 5 minutes behind, but 20, 25, 35 minutes behind. We have a shortage of drivers. We do know that one driver will be coming back by Thursday of this week. We've talked about alternative options and working them out with Lucini. But the first option is, we're here today. The last bus, I do know that they parked the buses at 4:13 p.m. when Mrs. Byrne called in. The buses were parked at 4:13. That's a lot better than it was a week ago. So we know we're getting better. We know that it's frustrating when they send in a bus, like if bus I isn't running, and they put them on bus B on Monday, then the kids get on bus C on Tuesday, and then bus D on Thursday. That's frustrating because you're looking for one bus. John has spoken to Lucini about that. We hope that with the return of this driver, that it will eliminate some of the issues that has happened. And this should happen by Thursday, I believe was the latest that we had, John, or that would be back on Thursday. John and I have also gone over several options if this does not support our students for getting home in a timely fashion. John, we've talked about condensing our buses down from 13 down to 12. And yes, it makes for a longer loop, but it also gives us an extra driver, and it also, we may have to just look at it differently. John is looking at the Zonar along with an app that parents could have on their phone, and watch where the bus is. So you would have a time that where the bus is and how far they're away from you and when they're going to arrive to you. We had a situation where kids got on the wrong bus and got off at the wrong stop. On behalf of the district, I apologize for that. They're getting on a bus, they thought, iBus was C-Bus that day, they got on a bus and they were dropped at an address that they were at, but they aren't there anymore, or a family member was there or not there that day, and so we apologize for that. I take full responsibility, along with Lucini. They will have to come in and take some of this responsibility with us, because they are our provider. I can't say enough about John and Joanne. They are in constant contact with Lucini Bus Lines, constant. I have a good relationship with Bill Lucini. John and I spoke about it the other day. I don't, if we needed Bill or Will to come in and to sit here, they would. They get it. There is a shortage of bus drivers out there. They do have a lot getting trained right now, but the process is what, 4 to 6 weeks, John? Or
60 days.
60 days to get your licensure to drive children. So once they put them in that training, it's 60 days after that. So
60 hours, sorry.
60 hours. So, how long that takes for someone to get those 60 hours could be, depend on the individual, if they have another job, and I don't know the whole schedule on that. But we're trying our best, and John, if you have anything more to add?
Yeah, so just to kind of be clear on what's happening, we're down a bus driver. So for the high school, Lucini brings over a southeastern driver. Drives the high school route for us, goes back to Southeastern, drives their route, comes back, and does our central school route. So we've got 13 buses for the high school and 13 buses for Central. The problem is we don't have a bus for Mitchell. So whenever a bus is not running, whichever bus it is, usually it has been bus I, those kids need to be divided onto different buses, which is causing the Mitchell students to be delayed, but also causing the Central students to be delayed. So we're working with Lucini, they're trying, they're as frustrated as we are. Everyone's frustrated. So in an effort to improve our communication with parents, I'm on the phone with them every morning. They usually know in the morning whether they're going to have a problem or not. Today, they told me at 11 that they're going to have a problem. I let the schools know there's going to be a problem. And to look for the email from Lucini, which shows which kids will be divided into which bus. So hopefully that list had been coming later in the afternoon, but it is now coming earlier. So we know earlier those kids, those buses that are going to have an issue. That should help a little bit with the communication. One other thing we did at Mitchell School on instances like today, where we were down a bus, Mitchell School likes to gather those kids and get them in the cafeteria and make sure they have a badge with their name and get them on the right bus. They were doing that at 2:30, which was causing some delays in the Mitchell School bus leaving. They've moved that up 10 minutes, so that should help out with a little bit of the delay. Like Liz said, we have a bus driver coming back Thursday. Doesn't mean all our problems are gone, because if someone calls out sick on Thursday, it's the other bus we're gonna have to deal with. So that should lessen the amount of times we have to split up kids and should lessen the amount of times that kids will be delayed. Lucini's also working with them to look at a different GPS system, like Liz said. That GPS system would allow our parents to download an app. The child would have a card that they would carry, and the parent would know if the school district decides to do it, the parents would know where their child is. What else? Oh, and like Liz also said, Lucini has 2 bus drivers that are in the final stages of training. All their districts are in the same boat, so that should help out also, but, depending on other districts, it's going to be a daily occurrence of where those substitute bus drivers go.
Has this brought on extra cost to the district?
No.
So it's Lucini deciding how the kids are being divided up every day, or
It's
that us?
It's Lucini.
Okay.
They take a look at which bus is going to be out of service for the Mitchell School route, and they try to place the kids on another bus that is close to that area of town.
And how are we communicating to parents?
Each school is communicating out to them.
I think my daughter's bus was 25 minutes late today, and, which happens, but I didn't know about it.
Yes. I've been seeing things in Parent Square.
So I looked and I didn't see anything today. I mean, I just missed it. I can double check, but
I could check.
I should make sure that that's being communicated, because it's going to happen. I mean, it's cold and flu season, people are going to get sick. I'm sure this is going to be a fun winter for busing. So I think as long as we're communicative to the community, we can avoid some aggravation.
So regarding Parent Square, I have my notifications all turned off, and I get a digest at the end of the day. Is there I feel like when I did that in the settings, I saw something that was like, alerts will still go out no matter what, because that's more like important information or whatever. Is there a way to possibly send out the bus information over an alert instead of a normal way of communication, just to make sure it gets through? Because if I'm sitting there like tunnel vision at work, I might not even see the Parent Square until it's time to leave for the bus, and then my whole afternoon, you know what I mean? My whole afternoon is a little bit, I don't know if it's possible, it just might
It
be
is. So
an
whoever
idea.
creates the post, when you create the post, it gives you the option to send it out in the mode that a parent has chosen, or to override that and send it out as an alert.
Okay.
So, is it Joanne that usually will create,
No,
or the
it's
building
school
levels?
buildings.
Okay, so we'll communicate to them that when they send something out about busing, to override the
Yeah.
digest mode and send it out as the alert.
I think that would help, because then at least parents know, it breaks through that, because it's a lot some days, so I keep it tucked away.
And that's why we're trying to do it by independent schools.
Right,
The Central School sends to their students, the Mitchell School sends to theirs, but if you have multiple students at multiple buildings, you're going to get multiple messages.
yep.
Good segue into the winter, though, for me, Scott.
You're welcome.
Next week, we will send out the letter that I send out every year about school closings, why we close schools. We don't do it in a vacuum. We do work with other districts. We do work with Lucini. We do work with our DPW. We work with everybody, but that information will be going out. The district will go first. What does a half-day look like? What does an hour delay look like? What does a full day look like? These are snow days. We do not have an alternate mode in the Commonwealth. So these are snow days. We will make these days up in June if we have a school closing. You'll receive the message from the district. You're also going to, those students that currently ride in on a van will also receive a message from Jay Fallon, Special Education Director. He will send out a message on that for the vans, because it's a little bit different, and he takes care of that in the morning, he and Joanne Connors. And then each school will also put it in their notes, Central School, Mitchell School, and the high school, of what that 1-hour delay looks like. If pre-K, if this happens, pre-K is not running. If this happens, pre-K is running. If this happens, we're going, bus pickup is at 10:30. If this happens, it's at 11:30. So that will be going out within the next week. So thanks, Scott, for bringing that up, but that's just another challenge that we have with busing. Just one last thing. In our overall budget of last year, we had put in for an adjustment counselor. We had we had one in the ESSER that we had used. We moved her into the regular budget. So now that we know we have that in the budget. I still had some room on that other side. I'd like to use that. I can't find another adjustment counselor. We did try to find another adjustment counselor. We were lucky enough to find a BCBA for the district. We were lucky enough to have an adjustment counselor at each building, which is terrific. But I am looking at using some funding, and it won't be for the full amount that was there, for someone to do community outreach. And I think the last couple of weeks in that regard, and having someone work non-traditional, not during the school day, maybe a little bit of the school day, but on the weekends and after schools and going to events and being out there. And we also, with that, I'm also looking, next year I will talk about this, possibly putting in a homeschool liaison when we start talking about creating the budget, but looking at a district liaison to help tutor and to help translate at the high school level at this time. Just a few hours a week. The social and emotional well-being of these kids to feel welcomed in the school, and not having the language is difficult enough, and then to navigate the curriculum and to navigate the building and this and that. So I'm just asking for that. It's in the budget. I'm just waiting for John he's done the end of the year report, which you're going to hear about tonight. He's also going to do some landscaping for me and for the district to see what is left, where we are with personnel, what can happen, what we can't do, what we can do. I'm not talking about...
I thought you were going to have me mowing lawns.
It will, in a couple weeks. I'll have you...
And using the new...
With his no snow blower.
There you go.
He'll be on his new snow blower. As we get into that, as we start talking about it, I'm not looking at next week, so you'll know when, but we do have some funding on the ESSER grant. I'm also looking at piloting. I've reached out to, I had some people come in that work with our coalition and sit on an interview with me to see if I was going in the right direction and for the district and what we do here. They actually knew one of the places that this individual had worked and made some calls and this for me, and they've gotten back to me and they said, yes, this is in good situation. But, I don't ever want to put the district in a barrier, so I'll wait and find out where we're at. But I also do know that we need some community outreach in our district. We need it in non-traditional hours and non-traditional ways. And we also need translations and translators and homeschool liaisons to support in this effort. I know that Dr. Williams is working diligently with the ELL staff, and they're trying to figure out better ways to do things and to make sure that the students are serviced as best they can. So we're getting there. And we're going to continue to work at it, and that's the best we can do at this time.
Can you, give a couple of examples of what, like, a community outreach district liaison would do? Like, day-to-day, like, just a couple of...
I would think that, it's hard, it's in a non-traditional, being able to go out to homes or to have an Al-Anon meeting or to have a substance abuse meeting that's not in school hours, that's after school, that might be on a Saturday afternoon, maybe kids that don't have a dad or a mom, finding out programs for them, working with the schools, trying to hook them up with the schools and and the people that they need to. This person would work with us, work with our guidance, work with our adjustment counselors, work with our school psychologists, work with the principals. Teachers work a lot. They work hard. They work diligently. They work all day long. And so does everybody. But if we had someone here at 9 o'clock at night, after a football game, after a basketball game, after a dance at the high school level, that's got their ear to the door and figuring out where kids are going, and, maybe something doesn't sound right. Maybe they're just out there along with our SROs and our police, making sure that kids make the right decisions, or that have someone to talk to if there is a bad decision that could be made. I want families, we have families that, and I hate to say it or use this term, but you got haves and have-nots at times of situations, and I don't want any student ever to think that they don't have the ability to come and have someone to talk to. And not every kid feels confident enough to walk into a guidance office or to see an adjustment counselor or to ask for help. If we put someone out there and we say, these are the kids that we're looking at, because we have kids on the radar, but then we have some kids that are not on the radar, that they may just be known a little bit, and it would be nice to have someone out there working with everybody in the community. Being at youth games, being part of the community at large on untraditional times. I would not say that I couldn't call out one of my adjustment counselors or school psychologists or principal on a Sunday at 10 and say, meet me at here, and so we can meet with this family. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, if we had someone on a regular basis going out there and saying, I'm going to be having coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, come on and see me. We have substance abuse in this district. We have adults who have substance abuse, who have children going to our schools. I want to help. I want to support them. I want them to know that they have us here. I'm not here, we're not always there on a Sunday night at 11 o'clock, going into a Monday morning, but we're here on Monday morning. I'm not saying that this person's going to be at every house like that. I'm not saying that's all we have. But there are children that may need some support. And that's really what it is. It's just another arm of the school district to say we're here to help. And that arm is not a counselor. They're not someone that's going to have office hours. It's really just another ear to the ground, and to support our families and to support our kids, and say, come back and meet with our principals, adjustment counselors, assistant principals, and to say, this is what I've got, this is what I know about this family, this is what's going on. If it works, that's terrific. And I'd like to do more family nights. I do think that we need to have more conversations of substance abuse with adults. I think we need to have more conversations with domestic abuse with adults. I think we need to have more conversations with families of grandchildren growing up with grandparents. It's not for our lack of trying. It is not for our lack of trying to have these conversations. They're difficult conversations. And it's hard to knock on someone's door or to get in there. And we really rely on our adjustment counselors, our guidance counselors, our principals, our teachers to get in there. Our teachers are not, you could open up a can of worms, and it's hard for a teacher to open that up and then say, what do I do next? And I'm just looking for help to go out and help some of these parents and grandparents. We also have, some homeless children in our district that take a van and have to go, an hour away. Just to have someone to be able to talk to. We have that here, but maybe we have someone, drive to them one day and just say, hey, came by, and have, with an EB sweatshirt. How you doing? Everything okay? You're going to be all right. Schools are more than, yes, we are here for academia, but we're also, our number one goal on our strategic plan is social emotional learning. And if our kids feel good and our community feels good, we will be able to promote academics and be solid and confident and be prepared. So that's really what it, looks like, and I think that's what I'm sort of looking for more, is just a partner out in the community. I think the police do a terrific job of trying to partner. I think the fire department does. We all try to partner with families who need help. Now, we don't know every family that needs help, by the way. We don't know what goes on behind every closed door in this community. I can tell you this, though, our teachers do. By third week in September, they know something's up, if there's something up. And it's, you're swimming upstream. And if we can help, we want to help.
Would that be something like if a teacher says like, Amanda over there, I'm worried about her, would this be something that they could talk to the
Yeah,
community?
and I think that, we first use our resources here in the building.
Yeah, you're right.
But, we always do, we can do wellness checks with our police officers. I know that, Miss Anderson does a lot. They'll go out with the adjustment counselor just to make a wellness check, just to see how things are going. But when Saturdays and Sundays, it's like hospitals. If you ever gone past an emergency room on a Friday night, there's a line, a lot. Go by Fenway up in Boston, there's a line, because they have nothing, some of these people. So they're trying to get help. And Saturday and Sunday, it's hard to get somebody, right, in hospital. So, same thing with schools, just everybody. So it's just another connection. Actually, our before and after care just sent out a preview. I don't even know if we can talk about it yet. There's like a little bolt, but there's something maybe coming for weekends with our before and after care that Dr. Williams and Ms. Ferrasso are working on. So we see the need, and we're going to try to do what we can to support the need. That's really what it is.
Is this modeled off of something specific that you've been hearing about, or this is more of a pilot idea for you that,
It's a
I'm on
pilot,
board for,
it'd be a
but-
pilot here, but I do see it in the urbans.
Yep.
They do the homeschool liaison.
Yep.
They do a community outreach, New Bedford, Fall River. I know that Central Falls in Rhode Island uses it. I know that Boston uses it. They have a lot of community resources and people that are related to the school, but are yet not counselors, but just out there, just, walking around, stopping in places, going where kids are hanging out and saying, hey, what can we do to, and then come back and give ideas to the school.
Yep.
We know by even our surveys that, one of our number one at-risks that came up was divorce on our survey. That was last year. And our kids said, divorce. How do we talk about that? Where do we talk about that? How do our teachers talk about it? How do our guidance counselors talk about it? How do our adjustment counselors talk about it? But maybe a check-in. And I'm not saying that this person would do that or that person would do it, but it's just, if we know that there's single-family homes out there or that there's some stress going on, we need to help parents know that, listen, you may have an issue with each other or with this going on here, but you've got two individuals, one's at Mitchell and one's at Central, one's at Mitchell and one's at the high school. You're here for them, and let's get them through school, and let's get them to be confident and help them and support them in school. Our issues are our issues as adults. We got to keep that away from this. So those are things that I know that we've talked about and we continue to talk about, but the more and more we spiral and get into this strategic plan, it's becoming more relevant and more prominent to me. I know that the nurses see it. We're seeing it. I hate to even think that that we can say that the pandemic brought us this, but maybe that was the one good thing out of it, that it exposed some needs and some things that we need to do as a community. It's not just East Bridgewater either. It's all over. And that's really what it's for, is to look at this. And, we have kids that have dual languages now, and some kids are coming in, they don't speak English at home. Their parents or grandparents do not speak English at home. So when you come in and you're trying to learn the English language, you're trying to learn how to write in the English language, then you're assessed in the English language, and then you go back home, you're not getting supported. So if we can get some translation and to work with the families at home, with a homeschool liaison in that fashion, I know that Dr. Williams is looking at that for next year, having someone take that spot over, so we're talking to parents on a daily basis and not using, I mean, we use Google Translation and we use some other things, but nothing's better than getting a call from a person.
Have we thought about using any of the high school?
Huh?
Maybe some of the AP Spanish speakers in the high school could go to the other schools and help out. Or, I mean, might be, and I was thinking too with
That's an idea.
counselors, there could be some upperclassmen at the college that could be internships and to get some real-world experience with that might be kind of a good source of.
We actually had guidance interns, and I believe we got that program
Yeah, through North River Club.
through North River Collaborative. So we had those with Jay Fallon. I believe Karen Clifford was involved in that as well. And so we're going to, anything that we can do to continue to bring in supports, we do that. Just like Lilia going down today. The kids love the high school kids to go down and read to them or to walk and talk with them. So, and that's a great idea. I really wasn't thinking about a dual language high school student to go down.
I just know from studying Spanish in college, the hardest thing is to speak it.
Yes.
You study it all day, but you get to go speak it with a native tongue.
Yeah.
It's going to help them, and it's certainly going to help the community.
Sure. And we say, we have a lot of Creole, Portuguese, Spanish-speaking students, so.
Anybody have any other questions? Thank you. You already mentioned Mrs. Gouveia.
Oh, I didn't have my glasses on, sorry. Jean Gouveia would like to retire. She's grade 5 at Gordon Mitchell School. Taught for 29 years here. I didn't think I didn't know this one was coming when it came up. Once in a while, they'll tell me the year before, I'm thinking about it, this is one I did not see coming. I'm happy for her when anybody gets to retirement and takes that avenue. I'm happy because they've come to that realization, like, all right, I'm ready. I don't think she'll ever just jump and say, I'm ready, but she's ready, and she's asked to retire this June, and so I'd like to accept that, and bring her in June and tell her thank you, and that she will be missed.
Still time to talk her out of it.
Yeah.
We have, so next up, we have the superintendent's evaluation timeline, goals and standards and indicators. So we have, and I passed it out, so you guys should all have it. So the first one we have is to create and manage building committee to do a feasibility study for the Central Elementary School, as well as enhanced district configuration, that's pre-K to 2 Central School, not to exclude 3 to 6 configuration along with grade 7. That's under professional practice. And then student learning is 1, to use iReady assessment diagnostic tool to measure growth in the student body, from K to 8 students, to use growth measures to support instruction in classrooms. And then the second one is to understand how attendance affects student learning and teacher instruction by assessing attendance data from both students and staff. And then under district improvement, we have to interview and hire consulting firm to complete an equity audit for the district by June 2023, to be performed in fall 23, that's SY 24. School year of 24. And then to create a budget that directly aligns with the 3 focus areas of the strategic plan. That's under district improvement. So, does anyone, and we sat, so the superintendent evaluation subcommittee sat with the superintendent and went through these goals, and this is what we came up with. So does anybody have any questions on those? No? Okay. And then,
Yeah, I'm just kind of like reading it.
oh, sorry.
No,
Okay, thank you.
thanks. Needed to slow that down for a second.
And then,
The big vote.
Amanda will tell us what the indicators are because they're not on my copy.
Yes, well, if Lauren, I don't know if you have your notes from our meeting. Okay, so I have standard 1 and 2. These are in our meeting minutes, so you will be getting them, and we can look back at what they are. But for standard 1 at least, which is on page 4 of 7 in this packet, we have chosen to collectively to look at B, instruction, ensuring practices in all settings reflect high expectations. I'm not going to read them all, but you get it. Okay, so 1B, instruction, and 1E, data-informed decision-making. And just so you all know, we went through these and really looked at, again, like what applied to both the goals and the district strategic plan so that we could make sure everything was aligned and also make sure that we were measuring the effectiveness or like the ability to reach these goals. So again, 1 is B and E. Standard 2 on the next page, which is under management and operations, is to B, human resource management and development, and to E, fiscal systems. And then I don't have the last page of my notes, so.
I don't suppose you remember the standard
Offhand,
3 and
but-
standard 4, what the indicators were.
We'll have to, we'll let
Do you
everyone
remember
know.
those, Superintendent?
did.
Yeah,
Well, we had them as a group, and they're in the meeting minutes, but yeah. Don't have the last page, apparently, of my meeting minutes, so apologies. No, because we already agreed on them, and they're already in our meeting minutes, so.
I
Yeah.
see, So
Yeah.
one moment, okay.
Voting on this or anything?
Yes, we vote, well, we're voting, so we
Should
already,
vote when we have it all?
we didn't vote on these indicators though before, only as a subcommittee, correct, or not?
Correct, and the other thing that everyone does not have in their packet is our meeting minutes, and that has the timeline.
Oh,
That's why I said we
Yeah,
pause the
we have
vote.
we will vote on the November 8th meeting. So if anybody has any questions, you can ask now or ask in the November 8th meeting also.
If can we just talk through the timeline, is that okay?
Sure.
And then everyone else see it, just so you have some context. With the superintendent, we talked about, we will be setting a process moving forward, like a cycle that we hope moving forward. Obviously, this is not ideal, because we're talking about setting goals in November now, to officially start. But our plan is that our April 11th school committee meeting, the superintendent will present her evidence the evidence of meeting these goals to us. We will then have until the next school committee meeting, which is 2 weeks later, on April 25th, to review the evidence, to both ask the superintendent questions or ask questions in the meeting about the materials or any clarification that might be needed. Over the next 2 weeks after that, each of us individually will complete our individual evaluations, and the superintendent subcommittee will meet to do the composite evaluation again, which we did pretty quickly and efficiently last time, so that should be quick. And our goal will be that on May 9th, which is the last meeting prior to the town election, we will present the final evaluation to the superintendent. Any other thoughts on that?
and then we were gonna work to have goals
Oh, yeah.
for the following year.
Yeah.
Settled before the end of the school year.
Yeah, by the last meeting.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. That was the next bullet. I didn't look on page.
Some stuff does live up here.
Not doing well with pages today, everyone. Sorry.
Thank you.
So if there happens to be any new committee members in May, they would be part of deciding the goals for the following year?
Yeah,
Or
for
would
some
they be like
reason.
recommended by the existing committee?
We could do both, but it needs to, the goals would go by following the strategic plan also,
Yes.
so they at least have some type of a guideline.
So those are, all of this is laid out in our meeting minutes, so you'll get them for next meeting.
And next up, we have our operating protocols. So there was two spots that were changed. One is the last bullet in meeting agendas, and that is It's now says silence and put away personal devices unless being used for the business of a meeting, and then the next one is under communication, it's the second bullet, and it says, the superintendent and the school committee recognize the importance of a proactive communication and agree that there will be no was crossed out, and it just says there will be an effort to avoid surprises. If school committee members have questions or concerns, they agree to contact the superintendent or chair well in advance of the meeting, if you know what your questions are. But of course, it's always okay to ask questions in a meeting if you don't know them beforehand. Would anybody like to go over any of the other operating protocols, or would you like to move on and, would you like to vote on them now, or would you like to discuss them more? So, I would take a motion to approve this operating protocols as written with those two changes in red.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second?
second by Scott, all in favor?
We should do roll call.
Gordon?
He's
muted.
Hold on, Gordon, we can't hear you. 1 minute, please.
Go up.
No, yeah, a little more.
Oh, he was trying to say.
Okay, good.
something, I think.
Okay, Gordon, go ahead.
I was trying desperately to stop us before the vote. I just had 2 points. One is, I like obviously the reference to new members will go through an orientation. I don't think it necessarily has to be in the protocols, but I would suggest strongly that we create an outline of what that would entail.
Well, one thing,
We're doing that.
Reference.
one thing is the charting the course that all new members are supposed to take. That's the first part of the orientation. Well, and
that won't
sometimes it
always
does,
work out.
But that's also, we're covering that in the school committee goals.
yes, that's also being talked about
procedures.
and covered in our school committee goals also.
So we're on the same page there, Gordon.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then the other is, in these protocols, I think each one of us should have a summary version of Robert's Rules of Order, and that the chair should hold the book that has the whole reference, just because if that's the format to our meeting, I know I'm not always holding Robert's Rules of Order. Be nice to have sort of a cheat sheet, so to speak. And again, that should be part of a package with a new member added to the committee. So they should understand that. And those are the only 2 suggestions I had.
Thank you.
Sorry, you were still on mute. What did you say?
He's kidding.
He laughed.
That was funny. Scott's pretty witty today.
It's the new seat.
Yeah.
I wrote that down, Scott.
So,
Minutes for next week.
anything?
No, do we have to, Gordon, do you want that reflected in how these read, or is that, in terms of like the copy of Robert's Rule of Order? Or do you just want that as like a note that should be, we should all each have a copy?
I just wrote it down and I'll make sure I'll try to
Yeah,
find something.
I think both of them can just be notes, but I would like a follow-up as to what they look like and where do we get. I know I have a summary form that we get at.
And the MASC, I know they've given out little cards in the past about, it's like a cheat sheet for Robert's Rules of Order, so they might even have something at their facility, so I'll find out.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So we moved it and we seconded it, and any further discussion? No? Gordon, would you like to start the roll call vote?
Yes, McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
Thank you, it's unanimous. And we have Mr. John Shea to give us a financial update of the FY23, and then he's also going to tell us about the FY22 end-of-year report.
So I'm a little under the weather tonight, so I might not be as talkative as I usually am.
I'm sorry, John.
In the operating budget, 2 summary sheets that I've been producing monthly. The fiscal year 2023 school year at October 21st, We have non-salary of $3.7 million appropriated. You can see we have expenses of $845,000 and encumbrances of almost $1.7 million. Total expenses right now of $2.5 million. We have an available balance of almost $1.2 million. Last year at this time, we had an available balance of $820,000. Salary, we don't encumber salary because our accounting system does not allow for it. I do model salary every payroll, and that's almost every payroll, at least after the end-of-year report. I do it every payroll, but I'm reviewing that now. It's going to take me another week to see where we are with salary. So far, though, I think we're doing well with the salary budget. I have seen an increase in the amount of substitute expenses we have. That's going through the roof. We have had an additional number of students that require one-to-ones, so we are seeing some ISA increases, but I don't think anything so far during my analysis that sticks out to cause an alarm right now.
The substitutes, is this more, have we raised the rate for substitute teachers, and that's where the expense is coming from, or are we needing more substitutes in the building? Or is it both?
Both.
Both, okay.
Any questions or anything? Revolving fund balances, we're holding well, pretty consistent to where we were at year end. You can see the school lunch is down a little bit from year end. We put a lot of effort into upgrading some of our cafeteria equipment, the new dishwasher at Mitchell, walk-in cooler really needed a lot of repair at Mitchell, refrigerated display cases. We updated all POS systems. We upgraded all managers' computers and printers. So that's part of the reason why you see that drop in the school lunch program from year end. In addition, school lunch programs are not supposed to have a large fund balance. So we try to keep that level at about 3 months' worth of expenses. That's the guideline. Circuit breaker, no change. School choice, up slightly. Athletic fund, we have an increase there mainly because we have a lot of athletes, and at the beginning of the year, that's when a lot of the fees come into play. Preschool, there's a $19,000 balance there. That probably will end up at zero at year end. Sped tuition in revolving, I need to make some reclasses with some staffing. At the beginning of the year, we're looking to get people paid, not necessarily making sure I have people in the right buckets. That's what I'm doing now. So that's why you see a negative balance there. School building rental, you have a decrease there from year end. We have had some, we use that for mainly, I don't want to say emergency because, a screen broken, it may not be considered an emergency, but we use it for things that are unforeseen things that occur to the facilities. And we had a couple screens that needed repair in our auditoriums. So that's why you see a little decrease there. Plus, at the end of June, we had a busy summer with dance recitals and all kinds of things, so the revenue, we don't have any revenue coming in now, but at the end of June, we did have a lot of revenue. So we will see, we've had, Brockton High School's auditorium is closed because they're redoing it. Where do you think everyone's looking to come? Here. So we're booked, Joelle, pretty booked solid for our auditoriums. The gyms are being rented out daily, so, which is good revenue, but there is a lot of use in those areas that we put back in using this account. Busing fees consistent, before and after care consistent with year end. Little Vikings is down from year end, but that's because the expenses for that program hit from July through the end of the program. Everything, all the other funds are pretty consistent with where we are at year end. I think revolving funds are in good shape. You have any questions on that? Ready for the end of year report? I can't tell you how happy I was to get this done.
John, before you do that, can I ask a question that I don't know if it's your direction, but with Chromebooks, is that something that would typically fall under, like,
Yeah.
does every student still have a Chromebook?
Yeah.
And all of that goes into one of the budgets, obviously?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We, so what we try to do every year is replenish 2 grades of Chromebooks. So kids going into 3rd grade will get a new Chromebook, and kids going into 7th grade will get a new Chromebook. So we feel like if we do that every year, we're going to keep replenishing and removing the old Chromebooks from the system.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the end-of-year report, I know there's some new members who may or may not know what the end-of-year report is, but, so I'll spend a couple minutes explaining what it is. The end-of-year report is one huge Excel file. DESI requires us to complete it. It's where we report all our expenses and revenue. It's made up of about 25 different Excel worksheets that all have macros, and they all intersect with each other. So I report all instructional expenses by school and by DESI cost category in that report. There are non-instructional district-wide expenses, which I report by DESI cost category. Special ed tuitions are reported by school type, age group, and Department of Ed special education categories. Transportation is broken down by homeless, foster care, special ed, and regular transportation. Then there are those expenses that are not in our operational budget. Those are the expenses that the town allocates to us, like health insurance and things like that. Those are all reported on the end-of-year report. All revolving expenses and revenue are reported in the end-of-year report, and all grant expenses and revenue are reported in the end-of-year report. The end-of-year report is used for the calculation of our per-pupil expenditure, the net school spending calculation, and the maintenance of effort calculation. So I just provided you a couple worksheets. I'm happy to share with you the file if you'd like to review it. Just let me know, and I can send it out, and I'm happy to sit down and walk you through anything you want in that file. The first page I have is a summary report out of the end-of-year report. I think this is a good report because this shows you a summary of all expenses, of all categories. You can see in the first column is the school committee appropriations. That's what I consider our operating budget. At the bottom of the page, on page 3, you can see the total there was $21,960,499, and it's broken down by subtotaled DESI cost categories. And you have in column 2, you have what was allocated to the town, from the town to us for school expenses. And that totals $11,573,000, and you can see the breakdown by cost category for that also. 3 and 4 are the expenses that were paid using federal grants and state grants. 5, column 5, it was what was paid out of the circuit breaker. 6 are what was paid out of private grants or gifts. Column 7 are the expenses that were paid out of the school choice fund or other tuitions like preschool. Then you have the athletic fund, our school nutrition fund, and all other revolving funds. So this shows that although our budget is $21,960,000, for the purposes of education, the total expense was $37,886,000.
So, for, say, buses for athletics, does that end up in the athletic fund, or is that in a transportation fund?
Athletic fund.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions?
I know it's a lot, so
a lot.
if you're reviewing it,
Over some questions that I had.
what's
Were
that?
they?
I don't remember what they were now. I just had,
Oh, no, Jenny wasn't trying to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, I
If you
just
had maybe,
no, I don't
gotcha.
remember. off the top of my
Sorry.
head, But I just asked him about different things that were in here, and then he just explained them, and
I have one more question that
Sure.
might be complicated. So you explained the difference between school committee appropriations and city-town appropriations. But I still don't understand.
Give me a minute.
That's basically my it's not really a question, but.
Give me a minute, and I included that worksheet in here also.
Oh, okay, perfect, then I'll wait.
I knew that question would come up. So on page 4, this is my reconciliation, this is what I provide to the auditors. This just shows you on the top line there, end of year report, total expenditures, all funds. That line is from the previous report that I reviewed, and you see the total, $37,886,514. And below that are the sources that I use to complete the end-of-year report. So you see the first one, the $21,960,000 in the school committee budget. That comes from a soft right management report, 1,300 expenditures. And then the encumbrances come from a 2023 soft right management report, 1,302 expenses. So because I also have to get sign off from the town for this, I review this with the town to show them what I used to support what I reported. And it also helps out with audit, during the audit. Okay, so on page 5, there's $11,573,000 worth of expenses that we report on the end-of-year report that are allocated to us from the town. Page 5 and page 6 include those expenses. So from the DPW, there are some salaries that are allocated to us, and then there's the DPW, so the DPW takes care of most of our groundskeeping, electricity, heat and oil. That's all in a separate soft right category. That's where all these expenses come from. And there's an allocation for the water and sewer, and also DPW snow removal. There's allocation of expenses for snow removal for the schools that I include on our end-of-year report. Below that, in the second grouping, it's titled Articles Fund Code 301. So on the special town meetings and annual town meetings, there are certain things that we ask for to be paid out of capital. So if it's paid out of capital and it's bonded, I don't include those. I include those on principal and interest. But if it's paid out of capital with free cash, I should include those expenses because those were things that were purchased for the school that aren't included in any other report that I have. So I include those purchases. There's, the next category is, I don't know, staple this, town accountant. There are some, so there's a cost for our accounting system, there's basically our accounting system and some accountant expenses, and then there's the electricity expenses for the schools that I need to include on the end-of-year report. From the Board of Selectmen, I receive all the different types of insurances. Workers' comp expense, the fire insurance, the general liability insurance, vehicle insurance. From the police, there's the school resource officer and some minor expenses. And from the treasurer's office, there's some expenses for the treasurer collector, clerks up there. That's where all the pension is reported. Along to the debt and the interest and the principal, our health insurance, our Medicare taxes. So these are things that are not in our budget. That help you?
Yes.
So we do have an agreement with the town. We did that you're supposed to have an agreement with the town for what expenses are included. And we did that, I don't know, about a year and a half ago with the school committee. The last audit I went through was written up because it was that the agreement wasn't as detailed as to, it says, okay, you're going to include some accounting expense. They want to see, okay, how much of the accounting expense. So that's something I'll have to work with the town on. I'll probably get written up again this year, but, I mean, we were written up for the 15 years before I got here for not having an agreement, so.
Awesome. Anybody have any other questions?
The DPW, the snow removal part,
Yeah.
is there any change to the budget when there is potentially, what was it, a Monmouth or something? What was the name of it?
Mammoth.
Mammoth, the snow blowers?
There wasn't any change to the budget because I didn't get approved by capital.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking to get approved by the ARPA committee for those.
Gotcha. So, and would it be a DPW employee using the machine?
Nope. So when,
So does that save money in a snow removal budget? No?
it could possibly, I mean, those machines do the work of 2 people.
Yeah,
So when our custodians are responsible for the sidewalks.
okay.
So when our custodians work overtime for snow removal,
Could cut down on that.
we don't charge it to the school budget. We charge it to that snow removal budget.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it might lessen the time.
It might lessen it a little bit.
It might.
I just like saying the name of it.
The mammoth?
Hopefully there's some extra perks. You're not getting me one?
No.
All I wanted to
Good job, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And next up, we have Dr. Williams, who's going to talk to us briefly about the ALPS protocols.
I feel fine, so I can talk first. So per the request of Chair Pennington, I just want to remind those of you that know about the ALICE protocols that we use, or, certainly if you have any questions. So we started using ALICE as our violent critical incident response probably about 6 years ago. Prior to that, we used to just use a standard lockdown procedure, and certainly with ALICE, it accounts for any type of situation where we can be proactive. So we're not sitting and hiding and waiting a situation out, we're reacting and responding to it as events unfold. So ALICE is an acronym. I included in your packet just the explanation for each letter of ALICE and how We want to make sure we alert folks with giving every piece of information we possibly can. In years past, we would use code words. Certainly, there's many times where there's people in the building that aren't familiar with our procedures, and they need to be aware at all times if there's an emergency situation. So now it's exactly the who, what, when, where, communicating everything you possibly can, knowing that it's not going to help the intruder at all. They know what they're wearing, they know where they're headed. So it's really to keep everybody on alert and also to distract them. Hearing all of that information certainly keeps them distracted. So the L and the C and the E are three of the methods. Lockdown, it's an enhanced lockdown. We've trained staff who are working with students on, not only locking a door, but using whatever's in the room to help barricade. So that's an enhanced lock. Research has shown intruders are trying to do as much damage in as little amount of time, so they're not going to spend the time trying to get in to a secure place. So the more secure it is, the less likely they're going to spend the time trying to break through barriers. C is countering. One thing that we never prepared staff and students for is there may be a time when you can't get to a lockdown, you can't get to a secure area, and so countering is really your only method of survival and bringing the intruder down. Certainly all of these are developmental. We don't train our young students on countering, but more distracting, screaming, yelling, running in zigzags, anything that would distract someone. And then the E is evacuate. Although Alice, evacuate is the end, it certainly should always be the first choice of any student or staff. So we also train our students and staff about rally points, so that if any time there is a critical violent incident happening, we always encourage people, if they can get out, they should get out and go to the evacuation rally points. So within the packet that I've shared with you is not only the explanation, I is informing, so it's kind of continuing that alert, making sure we're constantly informing everyone as the incident unfolds, so that they can make the best informed decisions for their own protection. Within here, I have also the training that staff go through. It's a three-pronged approach to training. We do an online training. All staff go through that online training. It's about an hour and a half worth of online training that they go through each year, as well as face-to-face training, and then scenario training. This year, actually, Alice has changed their training a bit, where once staff are initially trained, they will now be checkpoints throughout the year. They truly believe in making sure we're constantly keeping staff practicing and being informed of those strategies. So every 90 days, there'll be a checkpoint for staff to refresh their training. It won't be an hour and a half. It'll be more like a 10, 15-minute checkpoint, just to make sure that they're still aware of all the procedures that need to happen. And then also within the packet, I have the protocols that we follow with training students. And certainly starting with Central School, all the way up to the high school, it looks different. Students at Central School, this is their first introduction to Alice. So they assimilate it to the Big Bad Wolf and the Three Bears. They use Alice helps the Three Pigs. And they assimilate Alice with the Three Pigs. And students go through social stories, they learn the language, they practice tabletop conversations before we actually get into practicing the drills. And then at the Mitchell School and the high school, it's more looking like assemblies. Students are now acclimated. They've been going through Alice drills for 3 years of being Central School students. And so then at Mitchell School, they're more adapt to the language, they're ready to continue those conversations, and really applying those to the new surroundings of Mitchell School, knowing their rally points are going to be different, where they evacuate with, in a building, how they counter based on what's in their room will all look different. They'll have those tabletop conversations, and then certainly we get into practicing drills with the students. The other thing about Alice is making sure that when we practice these, everybody is feeling that they're in a calm state, so we don't surprise them with any of these drills. In the past, we used to do surprise drills. Now, students and families will be informed when these drills are going to happen, because we hope that families will then have conversations at home about it as well. The one thing I always say to staff in training is, certainly we're training them because they're staff members of the school district, but they're civilians, and these strategies and skill sets, unfortunately, could be needed at any point. They could be in a mall, they could be in a restaurant. So these are really survival skills regardless of where people may find themselves. We did have a story shared with us a number of years ago. I think there was a lockdown at South Shore Plaza. We had a Mitchell School student who needed to lock down with her parent and store employees, and as a fourth grader was able to communicate to them exactly what they should do based on what she's learned through Alice. So certainly, as I said, it's research-based. It's from based on the research and the data that's been conducted with, unfortunately, other school incidents, college incidents, as well as incidents that have happened out within communities. So we feel it's a really effective method to use, and certainly making sure staff are constantly practicing, constantly using the same language, and no surprises for students as they prepare.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Over the last few years, when everybody was focused on COVID, and I could be wrong, but I don't remember getting anything home about Alice or anything like that, so I don't know what was discussed in the classrooms. One thing that's been weighing heavily on my mind is that the kids who are new to Mitchell don't have the frame of reference I'm operating under the assumption that this wasn't covered as much as it normally would have been over the past couple of years. The new kids at Mitchell don't have any frame of reference for this. And so normally, you go to kindergarten, first grade, and your first introduction to this stuff is Alice and the Three Pigs or whatever. You know what I mean? It starts softer, and then it gets a little bit harder as things go on. I think the younger kids at Mitchell they're coming in cold.
So new students to the district?
No, like the third and fourth graders who maybe didn't, I mean,
During COVID,
a fourth grader was in first grade, when the pandemic started, and now they're in fourth grade, and all of a sudden they're coming in and they're like, oh, wait, what is this? So I think that's important for administrators to bear in mind, because normally they would know what you're talking about. Remember at Central when we talked about this, the third and fourth graders aren't necessarily going to have any frame of reference for that.
How far before COVID did we start Alice? At least a year or two before, right?
Right, so like if students though came in as a first grader, they were a first grader. You're right, the drills were not practiced.
They weren't.
The language should still have been communicated, the tabletop conversation should have taken place as well, but certainly not as practiced as they would have been had we not gone through COVID and had interruptions in the learning.
Right. I just think it's,
Well, for that remote learning time, it wasn't on the radar for any conversations because we weren't in the building having them necessarily.
Right, so that was March through the end of the year, then they were hybrid, but, I totally understand your point. So, the conversations with building administration, certainly with Mr. Paquette being new, he needs to know what was learned at Central School.
Right.
So that transition in language can be used, especially even for students who maybe had a chance to practice as a kindergartner, as a first grader, and then hasn't seen it maybe.
haven't seen it since, right, so it's, a lot happens between first and fourth grade. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but.
In that Mitchell School, it's more a comparison to fire drills and why we do fire drills. And that's the connection that's made. But certainly, when I had the conversation with with the principals about, are these the things that you're still doing on a regular basis, and getting dates, and, we need to bring Mr. Paquette up to speed, and certainly needing to know, what is the background information that students are coming with, and if they have that background information. So, absolutely.
In June, I think it was, with one of the most recent school shooting tragedies, one of the anxieties I had as a parent was not understanding or knowing if there was something that was planned for a drill, and if it was understood that there wouldn't be any drills so closely following a tragedy that was on the students' minds and on the parents' minds. And it was something I kind of flagged in my head back then as, well, that wouldn't happen, right? Like, the school wouldn't end up doing a drill so quickly after something so tragic, right? So I think I just feel like I want to say out loud, so we could hear out loud, that if the event that there was a tragedy and there was something scheduled and we had all received notification there was going to be a drill, there would be no drill, right?
Right, and with the drills, it wouldn't necessarily be on this date, it would probably be next week, we will be practicing the drills. So it gives advance notice so that those conversations can happen. Actually, there were tabletop conversation drills that were planned, that then it was communicated that we won't be doing that at this time.
Perfect. I think I just, for my own, my mama heart, needed to know that my kid wouldn't be trying to navigate hard information.
Right.
Sometimes even from peers, because it might be protected differently at home, but what they're hearing, and then not knowing what conversations might be happening at school, but then certainly wanting to make sure the district knew, like, we're not putting, the district's plan wasn't to put more on that. Thank you.
However, it is definitely a reminder that we need to make sure that we have solid protocols, and we're practicing those protocols. And unfortunately, when an event happens, is usually that
Oh,
reminder.
shoot, we need to, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Tough balance, I think.
Thank you. And next up, we have the second reading of the recommended updates to the following policies, and that's File AC, non-discrimination policy, including harassment and retaliation. File ACR, non-discrimination policy, including harassment and retaliation. File GBA, equal employment opportunity. File GCF, professional staff hiring. File JB, equal educational opportunities. File JFBB, school choice. File JIC, student discipline, and File JICA, student dress code. And the same exact red line versions are in your packets. And I know that we had talked about one or two things that we needed to fix. There was a spelling error or whatever. That will be fixed when we go through and change to make it a non-redlined version. So at this time, I would take a motion to approve the policies that I just read as written on this agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Scott. And any further discussion on them? No. Gordon, would you like to start the roll call vote, please?
Sure, McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
Thank you, it's unanimous. And at this time, we have our public comment section. We have one lone member of the community in the audience. Would you like to speak during our public comment?
Sure, yeah, I just had a couple of questions.
Oh,
So,
could
on
you
the
just,
bus-
oh, hold on one second. Would you be able to just state your name and address?
Oh, yeah, sure. Joe Conley, 155 Sachem Avenue.
Welcome.
Nice to be here, all the public. Just a couple of questions on the busing. Is that company in breach of contract? Does the contract have any service level agreements that, or is it just a best effort to run?
Nothing specific about expectations. I mean, we do have a contract for 13 buses.
Okay, so if they didn't run the buses,
Mhm.
there's no recourse to, if this.
Well, we'd have to look into legal for that, but if we're contracted for 13 buses and they're not running 13, then I would check with the attorneys on that.
Then, Madam Superintendent, you have referenced students on the radar when you're talking about the outreach counselor. Can you describe a little bit about what that radar is, how students get on it, and how students get off it?
Well, I'm really sorry. So usually when we have,
No, he's
It's-
referencing
it's
what,
on the agenda.
he's referencing what the
It's
Superintendent
on the
Legault was
agenda.
talking about.
yeah,
He shouldn't,
no, the questions are supposed to be referenced to the chair, and then,
Okay, so I referenced to you. Can you describe the radar system and how students get on it, how students get off it, and what the impact is of being on the radar?
I cannot answer that question because I do not do that job function. So I will ask the superintendent, because I do not know that answer. Superintendent, do you have an answer for that or no answer?
sure. We do have we have a lot of ways of checking to see where students are on the radar. There are some students that will never be on the radar, but we may have an inclination that we need to check in on a student. We have our teachers that will let us know that a child needs support, or a child may tell us at the elementary level that his parents need support in some way or some fashion. Our adjustment counselors, our guidance counselors, our teachers, we find kids talk, and they tell us a lot at schools. At the elementary level, it takes us a little bit more time to find out what's happening with a child in need. They're little, but they might have a big problem, and we can't figure it out right away. And we'll keep working on it. And if we had some community outreach, we might be able to get into that home quicker than what we could have, because we're so in school mode and trying to get to that student inside the classroom, and at the time that we have them, we only have them for 6.5 hours a day. So we try to do all of that work in that time. At a high school student, we have kids that may put something out on a social media, and it may be another student who comes to us and says, this student put something out on social media, and they are in need, and that takes us a while to get there. So what I'm trying to do is just make sure that we're functioning at a high level, and that we're turning every stone that we can, and just keep turning them to say, we're here to help, and we don't want to leave any stone unturned. And if we can support in this manner, I think it's the way to go. We have kids that we still give extra food to at times.
Thank you.
And then I had a question. You had mentioned about tracking performance, I think. There was, you building.
Oh, on the superintendent evaluation?
Yeah, where does MCAS fit into that? That's my big thing.
So we're discussing MCAS at the next school committee meeting, November 8th.
Okay. I guess my question is, does that fit into the performance evaluation that you're cooking up? or working
Yes. It's part of statistics. So we have iReady also, so it'll be MCAS, iReady, and whatever else they use for statistics on student achievement.
on? Oh, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
And next up, we have surplus items here. So I would take a motion to approve the sale of the following surplus items: the East Bridgewater Junior Senior High School Savin copier printer scanner, East Bridgewater Junior Senior High School HP Design Jet 42-inch roll printer, at the Central School, approximately 40-inch tables and 25 child-sized desks, and at the cafeteria, dough divider and tabletop freezer cooler. And I would take a motion to approve those items for sale.
Okay, it's not really for sale. I need you to approve me surplusing them.
Oh, okay.
If I can sell them, I will sell them, but if I can't, I will give them away.
Okay,
If I can't give them away, I will throw them away.
okay. So I take a motion to approve the items that I just mentioned, A through F, on the agenda for, it says here, sale of the following surplus items. So should I not say sale then?
I wouldn't say sale.
Okay, so I would say, I make a motion, I would,
Sorry, before I make a motion, I have a question.
sure.
Does this mean that they've been replaced with newer models, and this is the leftovers that we're looking to action?
The copier has been replaced, the Design Jet roll printer has been replaced, the 40 tables have been sitting in storage for I don't know how long, the legs don't fold, I mean, I need to get rid of them.
They're taking up-
The child-sized desks have been replaced when we purchased new desks with ARPA funds. These desks have sharp edges.
Yeah.
I need to replace them. The cafeteria dough divider is an antique. I may be able to sell that to an antique, I'm kidding.
Even an antique color.
Antique Roadshow, where you can lift that, right? You
I
can-
mean, it looks like a robot. We may be able to sell that for scrap metal.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's a good idea.
and-
Probably get rid of it all for scrap metal.
What did you say was a dough separator?
Yeah.
A full bakery? Were we baking bread at any point?
Probably.
Yeah,
Maybe.
probably.
I'm making our own pies.
Yeah, yeah.
And the tabletop freezer is just, it doesn't work, and, so that has been replaced, yes. Pretty much everything's been replaced.
If you had to throw things out that you couldn't sell or give away, would we have to rent like a dumpster to do
Yes.
that? And then use the funds from the sale to kind of cover the cost?
Yes.
Okay.
I
And
wanna-
I'm gonna come get the dough divider for my own house, but the other stuff you might have to give.
I want to say yes, but anything we sell, the funds go to the town general fund. They don't go to us, so if I rent a dumpster, you're talking maybe $300 to rent a dumpster, $350, $400.
What's that?
Almost.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve the sale or elimination of the following surplus items, and I already said them. So they're listed on the agenda, A through F. So I take a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second?
second by Scott, and roll call vote, Gordon.
McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye?
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
And it's unanimous. And so I have here, a resolution to declare items as surplus property now, therefore be it resolved by the school committee of the town of East Bridgewater after meeting in regular session this 25th day of October, 2022, that this committee hereby approves the disposal of the attached list of surplus property. Thank you, John. And next up, we have the MASC resolutions. So, after you, I'm going to ask how you all want to go through these. Do you want me to go through, or Gordon and myself go through, or do you want to approve them all as written as one? Or how would you like to do this?
All in one.
Same.
All in one? Okay, so I would take a motion to approve resolutions 1 through 6 as written on this 3 pages from MASC.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second?
second by Scott, and discussion. So Gordon had a question, so we can vote on this, and then we'll come back to the next question that Gordon had with if there's any, when he's going through this meeting at the MASC conference, if they had any changes or tweaks, like sometimes they'll go through the resolution and they'll say, oh, we think it should be X, Y, Z, whatever. And then the committee members who are the delegates have to go around and vote. So that's what I did the last time. There was like 1 or 2 that they had some tweaks to, and then everybody just voted on it. So Gordon wanted to know if that was okay at the end, if that happened to any of these, if you would be okay with him using his best judgment to vote on these. So I'll come back to that in a second. So, Gordon, would you like to start the roll call vote?
Sure, McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
Thank you, that's unanimous. And then the question that Gordon had was, would it be okay if Gordon used his best judgment if any of these were to slightly be tweaked or be changed or whatever at the conference?
Sure.
So I would take a motion to approve Gordon to use his best judgment at the conference and vote using his best conscience.
So moved.
How many crickets gonna go with it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What?
I'm just being fresh.
Oh,
So moved.
Second?
I think I need hearing aids. Well, first, Gordon, okay, so moved by Amanda, second by Scott, and discussion?
I just have, isn't this kind of built into the assumption when because don't we vote to
Yes.
elect him as a delegate?
Yes.
So is this motion needed? I'm
No,
happy to
well,
vote
he
again.
wanted it.
but-
He wanted to know.
Okay.
So Gordon, would you like to start the roll call vote?
Sure, McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
It's unanimous.
You have our full support, Gordon.
Thank you, Gordon, for being a willing participant. And I would take a motion After discussion, if there's any, to approve funds for the Community Outreach District Liaison and ELL position that the superintendent was speaking about earlier.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Scott, discussion.
Will we have the opportunity to see like a job description and stuff? I know you're sussing it out, but okay, cool.
And just to be clear, the funds were already there, we're just saying that,
Yes.
we are saying, yes, use them
To use
how
them
you
in
see
the
fit in
same
this
sort of
way.
social
Yes,
emotional learning
yeah.
part of it.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yes.
Maybe we may or we may not.
Yep.
Depending on where we're at.
Gordon, would you like to start the roll call?
Sure, McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
It's unanimous.
Mrs. Benner, do you need to make a note of when Lilia left, or are we good?
At this time, I would take a motion to change the November 15th school committee meeting date to November 8th.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Scott.
It makes it easier for Joanne. Copy paste, copy paste.
We're in a rhythm here. Gordon, would you like to start the roll call vote?
McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
Thank you, that's unanimous. And at this time, I would make a motion to approve the superintendent's contract as presented for the time period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2028, starting at $208,000 for that's the year ending 2023 to 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Amanda, second by Scott. And Gordon, would you like to start the roll call vote?
McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
Thank you, that's unanimous. And at this time, I would take a motion to approve the minutes from the October 11th, 2022 regular school committee meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Scott, and Gordon.
McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
Thank you, that's unanimous. And I would take a motion to approve accounts payable warrant 17 SV dated 10/19/22.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Scott, and Gordon. Roll
McKinnon,
call.
aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
It's unanimous. And we have, I would take a motion to approve payroll warrant 16 PS dated 10/12/22.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Amanda, second by Scott, and roll call vote, Gordon?
McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
Fiddler, aye.
Foster, aye.
And it's unanimous. I would like to thank EBCAM. I failed to mention that EBCAM always live streams our meetings and records our meetings, and thank you to them. And also, Gordon was remote, and that, under the law, it's still allowable. And so Gordon has graced us with his
Electronic.
electronic
Digital
presence.
Virtual.
Yes, his virtual presence. Thank you, Gordon. We appreciate you and your willing participation. And at this time, I would take a motion to close this meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda.
Second.
Second by Rebecca Fiddler.
This is Joanna's poor hand.
We get a little punchy after
Gordon,
8
would you
o'clock.
like to start the roll call vote?
McKinnon, aye.
Pennington, aye.
Colligan, aye.
Walker, aye.
He's still winning, even at 8:15.
Foster, aye.
And it's unanimous. Thank you, everyone.